Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the high-grade MESSER once again. Now if you don't know what the high-grade MESSER is, it's an absolute unit of a MAFT mobile suit, which is straight out of Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway. I took a look at the regular unit before, if you want to see that, the full release version. This one right here is a newer one that came out very recently, which is the MESSER Type F02 MINELAYER, and I love this kit so much. I only got around to building it once, so it's exciting to build it once again. I got mine here, as you can see it is a premium Bandai box, and I got it through those awesome people over at Buy, so if you do want one of your own, you'll definitely find one on there. But anyway, let's get this built. So when it does come to the high-grade MESSER and this version right here, the MINELAYER, inside of the box there's a whole lot of stuff. This is a master-grade size box, so you almost get a master-grade amount of plastic, at least a classic master-grade. The box isn't entirely full, there's a little bit of air in there, but what you get in the end is a whole lot of stuff. When it comes to the manual, this is the good old Bandai. We couldn't give a flying fuck about this kit manual, so yeah, it's just grey, there's no details, you don't see anything about the unit at all, and it just is the absolute basics. Now you could say this is a premium Bandai manual, but I've seen some absolutely fantastic ones like the one we just saw recently with the Nyan. Anyway, when it comes to the plastic in here, we've got quite a bit of it. We've got a multicolored runner, beige, I guess a kind of muted red, yellow, and this dark reddish chocolate. We've got a whole bunch of grey runners. This is the usual kind of Gundam inner frame grey. One of these runners is absolutely tiny. It's just a left hand. And this kit right here is predominantly in this beige, as well as this kind of, it's kind of hard to describe sort of color. It's not quite red, maybe like it's not quite terracotta either. It's just a really strange muted red. It looks more red on camera by the looks of things though. So when it comes to the legs in here, the bottom line is basically these are big and simple. They do both of those, and that's about it. There are some stickers in the build too, which are a little bit hard to lay down. I'll mention that in a minute, but overall, not a whole lot of parts in general to the leg, and not a whole lot of building up really. Just like the foot right here, this attaches together so simply. As you can see, there's no bend at all. It's just a big old flat foot, and in total it is just 5 pieces that attach together just like so. Simple. There's a little bit of a cross-section of what the leg looks like once it is, well, pretty much built up without completing it. The hip up here is just a kind of pivoting nice joint inside of this cup, but of course that will limit it to some degree, but it is accurate visually. And we do have this ankle joint which moves, and this armor flap, but basically it's just color separation and armor around joints. Next up, the stickers in here are pretty criminal. So this whole panel right here, this segment back here, and this panel right here need stickers. So they are both recessed and angled at the same time, which makes them a little awkward. So yeah, attaching on these stickers is not the most fun. I recommend using one of these little stick things here. This is by Display. This is a panel line eraser, but it's nice and soft. It won't really crinkle your stickers, and you kind of push it into the recesses where you need it. Still, you need all the help you can get with these particular stickers. They're really rough. In the end, I did get them on reasonably okay, but they did wrinkle here and there. They're not the nicest. They are recessed, so you won't really notice them. If you did matte top coat, you get rid of this shine, so you won't notice it too much. So far, a leg built. Moving on. Okay, so we're rolling down here, and also rolling up here. Alright, now we're moving up to the waist, and this, once again, builds up out of really big, massive, albeit a little bit on the hollow side parts. So continuing on with the build of the waist unit, and in here we've got these little arm sections with a whole bunch of moving parts on them. Now this is to attach on the new butt flap that makes this the MINELAYER. So it has a big old moving ass round back. It actually attaches on in a very interesting way in under the rear kind of upper skirting sections, and then you pop the big old butt flaps on. So these look like they have a lot of articulation, but they could be a little bit on the awkward side. So this right here is what you do get once it is complete. Now there is some new elements in here as well, which is the actual little mine segments. So these are just made out of 2 grey parts. This is one section. You then pop the mines, which are the same color as the armor of the unit, in just like so. So it is nice to have a little bit of color separation in here. There is the second one, and then you just slap the back onto these right here, just like so. So this is what makes the MINELAYER the MINELAYER. These just then attach onto the ass flaps just like so, and then like so onto the other side. So if you're wondering what makes this kit right here different to the MESSER F02 we would have seen 5 years ago, yeah, it's this, just these butts. That's it. As far as I'm seeing, that's all. So now moving on to the torso, and there's quite a few pieces to this when you consider that it is just a high-grade kit. Now this builds up very nicely. You build up the neck section first, then you build the front of the chest, including the color separation for the front of the chest and the vents, as well as adding on the interesting joints of the shoulders. Layer on a whole bunch of armor, then you build the incredibly unique ab crunch joint in this. So you build up this section first, then you add 2 sets of joints into this section, pop all the parts onto it like so, set up the middle part of the torso by aligning that bit right on into it, and then you have to kind of bring the lower torso up into this, attaching it onto the joints you built, and then flipping it around into the body, and on a couple of bit more bits of armor, and then the upper body you built attaches into the lower section. That is very nice. That is a very nice sectioned up build. Pretty fun too. Next up then in here is the arms. Once again, nicely designed but a little hollow when finished. You just throw the shoulder together, the elbow joint, pop the elbow joint into the forearm, add some more armor onto the overall arm, attach the shoulder joint into the upper arm, pop on the hand, and then you build up the shoulder, which on the left hand side here is just a vented shoulder like so. You pop these sections up onto the shoulder and it's done, and the only difference between the 2 arms is one has a big spiky shield, the other has a little bit of a kind of thruster. So next up is the backpack, and the high-grade MESSER's backpack is super simple. You just attach these ball bits together, throw some smaller thrusters into a little segment, then attach on the upper and lower, what I like to refer as eyelids, and then it looks like a pair of eyes with the nose. This thing is ridiculous, it cracks me up. It's even kind of expressive when you move the eyelids around like so. It's pretty nice. Now it is missing the little thruster bit, so with these popped on, that doesn't really help its eye-lookingness very much at all. Love this backpack. Finally then we've got the head. This is super simple to pop together. It's just a few pieces. There are some stickers, yellow bits for the piping on the front of the face, as well as the mono eye. The mono eye can look side to side, and it all attaches together, again, fairly easily. We do have an option of front of head that is the standard type, or one with that little bit of a commander's horn section. All in all, looking pretty good. So finally now onto the final assembly, and so far it was a very enjoyable build. A little simpler than I remember, but very enjoyable. Now, the funny thing is, the only thing that is different because, well, compared to the previously released MESSER F02 are these butt flaps. They've just been replaced with these slightly more fancy butt flaps. Slightly. It's barely any different. I'm sure you could probably grab something like from a 30-minute missions and glue it onto the butt and it'd still probably look pretty much the same. Anyway, let's get it popped together and get this final beast assembled. So on with the legs. So far, feeling quite strong. This is a very, very, very hollow kit. I remember the first time I finished building my first MESSER, the main thought I had was like, wow, this is hollow. It's so lightweight for something that is an absolutely gigantic high-grade kit. The joints attach fairly solidly, but not too solid. Like the pegs don't feel too stuck in there or anything like that. And overall, it's pretty nice. Ooh. That wasn't as bad as it looked. I just kind of grabbed onto the wrong place at the wrong time. So the backpack may look hilarious, but at the same time, it's next level ridiculously simple. Anyway, there we go. There is the high-grade MESSER complete, and that is one hell of a beast. It looks great, feels okay, and let's move on into the aesthetics. So jumping straight on into the aesthetics, and this is the high-grade MESSER MINELAYER, just out of the box, snap built, no extra effort whatsoever, and all I can say is this is one incredibly impressive kit. I'm as impressed by this kit as I was back in 2020 or whenever the original version came out. Now for me, when it does come to the high-grade MESSER, the one thing that absolutely blows me away straight away after building one of these is just how gargantuan it is. For example, this right here is the RX-78-2, the real grade version, so this is your standard size 1/44th scale Gundam. This right here is the MESSER in comparison. This is an absolute unit of a, I know it's not a Zeon kit, but it's extremely Zeon coded. This is MAFTI, this is a MAFTI mobile suit, but it just absolutely reeks of Zeon in so many great, phenomenal, cool kind of ways. So just getting the negative aspects of this out of the way straight away, and for me that is the stickers. They are a little bit hard to align where they lie. We've got some on the head around the tubing. You actually attach this sticker on before popping the tubing in, so it can actually get caught and ruined a little bit. And down here on the legs, this does not look that great. It's hard to make it lie perfectly. The best option always is paint, but if you can't match the paint or anything like that, when you opt for the stickers and you want them to look a little bit better, matte top coat over them goes a long way. Besides that though, this kit looks absolutely incredible. Now I don't have my standard MESSER right here for comparison, but I'll just throw up a little bit of a clip from the video I would have done of that. It's a little bit different in the legs. As far as I know, the color is different too. Nope, I'm wrong. I actually flipped right on over to the Schizophrenic blog really quick there because he's got some great comparisons, and this is exactly the same color as the full release kit. Only difference really being the legs and the butt. And actually jumping around to the butt, this is what is different about this kit. This is why Bandai released a brand new kit entirely just for these things around back. It's not really a whole lot, so pretty much everything here we would have seen before. The color separation on here is very, very nice. It's simple, but at the same time breaks up all of the surface really, really nice. The touch of yellow here and there that's molded into it looks absolutely astounding. The little details here and there aren't that crazy, but overall, it does give it the feeling of a very armored machine that doesn't really leave too much of its kind of sensitive aspects poking out. It's massive, it looks awesome, and I'm always impressed by the way this thing looks. Anyway, there's the full 360-degree spin, so you can see absolutely every angle of this for yourself. It looks great, it's massive, it's big, it's bulky. If you like something with that little bit of Xeon energy, just even bigger, then this is what you're looking for. It's a very nice high-grade kit, still in 2025, and it may be lacking in some departments, maybe like the articulation, but we'll be taking a bit of a look at that a bit later on. As for the size comparison, there it is beside the Police Zaku from G-Quax, the high-grade Hyzak Kai, Gundam G-Quax, the G-Quax Gelgoog, Intra-grade Wing Gundam, G-Quax Dom, and finally outclassed by some high-grade heavyweights being the high-grade Nightingale and the high-grade Gundam Penelope. So now jumping on into the accessories, and here's everything that comes with the high-grade MESSER MINELAYER, and this comes with quite the little armory. It's the usual sword, board, and beam rifle with a couple of extra bits. And what we get is a pair of beam sabers, a big old shield, beam rifle with hand for holding onto it, and speaking of hands, we do have one widespread left hand, a base adapter, and an alternate head section. I will mention that the MINELAYER right here can actually kneel down quite well. It is leaning back a little bit, I'm sure I could fine-tune it a bit more, but it does have some limited articulation, but it can pull off some cool poses, like this one right here. So first off in here we do have an optional hand. To swap it, it's the usual way, you just pop off the hand you don't want anymore. Ooh, that's held down. Ooh. Yep, you just pop it off like so. The optional hand we have in here is a widespread with round style fingers, so again, Xeon coated. This is absolutely massive as you'd expect, so you're not going to be able to buy a little hand set for using them with this kit, I don't think. That's what the hand looks like attached, those round style fingers. It is widespread. Overall, not too bad, and it is nice to get an alternate hand inside of a box with one of these because they are massive. Next in here, we've got a pair of beam sabers with yellow beams. There are the handles, so they're pretty plain. I'm assuming these are master grade beams because they are quite long, and equipping these just involves popping them into the hand just like so, so simple. And we do have storage for these up inside of the shoulder right there between those two little bits of plastic, as well as these little slots on the bottom of the shield. To attach them, you just pull off the beam like so, and they just pop on in like that. Next up in here, we've got the beam rifle, a nice chunky one. It's only made out of a few parts. That's half and half. The seam does run down the side right there, and we do have this little part, this sight that attaches on into the side. No kind of sticker or anything for that, it's just kind of plain. And I did leave the holding hand attached on for the sake of brevity, because there is nowhere on the actual unit to attach the beam rifle when it's not in use, so I just left it inside of the hand. Again, nice sculpt in the hand, and it's big and chunky. Again, same hand swap routine. They do hold in incredibly well. There it is, popped off, and then the beam rifle hand just attaches in just like so. So there's the beam rifle, looking fairly decent. So next up in here, we've got the shield. So this is made out of 3 colors of plastic, same as the mobile suit. So the kind of terracotta reddish color around front. We've got the beige around on the underside, and we do have gray. Funnily enough, that it would have gray for this. I assume under in here is meant to be in gray, so you would have to paint that yourself. I'm just assuming there though. This is one of those ones that can be attached onto the side or the rear of the arm by switching this little adapter around. You do always have one sticking out, so that doesn't always look the best, but you can always just chop off the one you don't like and kind of sand it flush if you wanted to. This then just attaches into that little slot in the elbow, just like that right there. I do find it kind of clashes somewhat with the shoulder up there. Maybe you might be better off having it on the back, but that is what it looks like once it's attached onto the side. Again, pretty awesome unit. The last thing then we've got in here is an alternate headpiece. This is the one without the antenna, so otherwise exactly the same. Swapping these out thankfully isn't part of the build. It's just a simple thing you can do. You just slot off one just like so. We'll mention while it's off, you can move the mono eye left and right ever so slightly. It is a sticker, so you can stick the sticker at whatever angle that you do want, and popping the extra part on is just as simple as this right here. On and off, very, very easy to do. Anyway, there's a little bit of a side-by-side comparison of it with the antenna and it without the antenna. Both look great, but the antenna gives me a little bit of Ava Unit 1 vibes, which I'm totally digging. MESSER MINELAYER right here up on my shelf, standing, and I'm like, oh cool, I want to pop this in a flying pose for, like, you know, just the fun. It's nice to spend some time with your kids. Well, that is not something I can do without this little attachment right here. Now, you can leave it sticking down like a little bit of a willy underneath there, which always does look a little bit on the funny side, or an extendo butthole. But a lot of the time I won't have it left on there, and then when I want to put it up on a stand, it won't be there. I prefer a little bit of a hole in there, or even better, a hideable hole. I'm going to attempt using this with my high-grade stand of choice, which is the Good Smile Company Simple Stand. That is 3 of those for $12. They are the greatest around, but they might be a little bit strained with something this big. It is usually quite strong, and ooh, not too bad. It is holding it up in the air. It is teetering ever so slightly, but it is getting the job done. Let's try and get it into a little bit of a pose. Not that there's many poses you can really get this kit into. Ooh, that was a failure of the base adapter. I don't know why Bandai uses these really silly cut-out style adapter. See the way it's not a solid hole, it's just cut to the back there, so that'll fall on through. So you might need something with a little bit of a longer protrusion. But yeah, a cool kit for maybe just standing there, not so much for posing. Lastly then, as for what makes the MINELAYER a MINELAYER, we've got the mines around back. The mines themselves don't do anything, they do look quite nice. As for the butt flap, you're able to move it out in these very nice moving, articulated aspects back here. They are a bit awkward, I will admit. Sometimes when I have to put these back into the resting position, I do actually have to take off the butt flaps in order to align them. They're not the most kind of user-friendly things, but you just move them out and move them up like so you can have it in a kind of a flight, mind-dropping sort of pose, like that right there. So next up, jumping on into the articulation, and overall this is a good and solid kit. It's surprisingly light and doesn't really drop in too many places. There is one place that kind of bothers me a bit, and I kind of wish I had known before I actually got this kit finished, and that is this ab crunch part right here. I probably wind back 5 years to the other video I did and probably said the exact same thing. So yeah, you might want to tighten this up a little bit. That's that very intricate joint for the ab crunch that's in there. That kind of, it will hold up. Nah, that won't hold up, sadly. Anyway, so testing out the usual pose right here, and man, it was a whole lot of pulling and a whole lot of pushing and a whole lot of doing things and a couple of things falling off, and yeah, you don't really get a whole lot out of it, do ya? So this is what I got in the end. So this is the best it can do for that pose. So it's not an over-the-top poser, especially not on the ground, because this part is limited. The upward movement at the thigh there is limited too, so that is really what you get out of it. However, if you do kind of get it up in the air, you can kind of get some more kind of fun poses out of it, but the lack of rotation at the waist does mean you can't really get too over the top of a kind of shooting pose out of it. Oh yeah, that's limited all around. Boop, 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 boop. But anyway, that right there is it for the review of the high-grade MESSER MINELAYER, and I have to say I still love these kits to bits. Are they a must-buy? Maybe not, depending on your own personal taste in kits, but if you like big, you like gnarly looking, then definitely go for one. If you like posing and you like solid intricate kits, this might necessarily be it. Anyway, I give this the almost full 4 out of 5 for the aesthetics, because it is beautiful, but of course it did lose 1 point for a lot of kind of knobbing and a lot of seam lines that are all over the place, and it's not fully color accurate, and the stickers here kind of suck. However, it does just look absolutely stellar. It's big, it looks awesome, just standing there, it's a killer looking kit. Articulation, it just got the 2 out of the 5. As you can see, it doesn't pose much at all. This is a kit for standing only. A couple of basic, almost moving poses can be kind of done with it, but not much. Accessories wise, this is fairly average. You've got your sword board and beam rifle, as well as a couple of hands in here, which is a nice little spread. Nothing does anything over the top or incredibly cool, but they do look very, very nice. Lastly then, when it does come to the build, I was kind of torn on this a little bit between 2 points and 3 points. I gave the 3 in the end. There are some aspects about this that are a little bit awkward. The neck can't really look around a lot. The arms pop off sometimes on me, but it is just so much fun to build a big, nice kit like this. And there's a lot of intricate parts inside of the torso on this, as well as the waist unit. They don't do really a whole lot in the end, but they are intricate to build, which is always nice. Anyway, I got mine right here through those awesome people over at Buy if you do want one of your own. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Gunpla reviews, and I'll see you next time. As always, this video right here and every single video I make would not be possible without each and every one of you guys who watches this video, and special thanks at the end of this video right here to those who support on the channel memberships as well as over on Patreon, including Caleb Engelhart, Joe, OG59061, Scotty Thomas, and Simon.